2008 and hosting two- and four-wheeled motorsport ever since, the Autodrome International du Algarve has become a staple in motorsport culture ever since. The 4.59 kilometre, 2.85 mile of glorious ribbon of tarmac puts both rider and machine to the test. Carlos Tatai put the test to the championship leader Senna Aegis last time out in Jerez, cutting his championship lead down to 30 points. But as the Spaniard closes in, the Australian is undeterred and will be looking to reassert his authority on the Moto2 European Championship here today. 16 corners make up this glorious circuit with 9 right and 7 left-handed corners. 16 laps of Moto2 action kick off with race number 1 here today. Glorious, glorious sunshine at the Autodrome International du Algarve here in Portugal, with great settings and fantastic scenery as well that make this one of the iconic circuits of the JuniorGP World Championship. Moto2 is next up, and it's Senna Aegis that leads the championship by 30 points over first-time race winner in Jerez, Carlos Tatai, moving up from the Moto3 World Championship over to the Moto2 European Championship. And Carlos Tatai has been a rider that's been seeing some action in the Moto2 World Championship, filling in for Rory Skinner on the OnlyFans American racing team in the last couple of rounds. And Chris showing himself to be an absolute weapon on that machine as well.
Yeah, an absolute weapon, as you say. He's had a brilliant season so far. He's really put it up to Senna Aegis, who looks a class and cut above many of the riders in this field, and it's only a matter of time before we see both Aegis and Tatai, in my opinion, a matter of time before we see them on the World Championship circuit and full-time deals.
100%. You've got to imagine that those two, probably in 2024, will be moving up to the Moto2 World Championship. They're a cut above at the moment in the Moto2 European Championship, and you can imagine that a lot more of that action is going to come up here today with Senna Aegis and Carlos Tatai rounding out the first 2 spots on the grid. So the Moto2 riders are on the sighting lap on the way to the grid, and well, we can imagine it's going to be action-packed all the way through, as we saw 1 year ago with Senna Aegis taking the fight to Lukas Tulovic and Alex Screech, with probably one of the best races of the season in Moto2 in race number 2, going all the way down to the wire. But going all the way down to the wire, last time out was Jerez. Race number 1, well, their only race of the weekend. Carlos Tatai was starting for pole position, but was shuffled back in the early laps. Senna Aegis led the way, but it was the number 72 of Ruiz and the number 99 of Tatai that were quickly ahead. Ruiz made a move on Senna Aegis as Carlos Tatai made the break at the front. There was battling all the way further back, with some marshals heading out to pick up some debris on track. That was Channing Inta that crashed out, but he was thankfully unharmed, as Cardalus and Rato fought their way for 4th spot. But it was the brilliant Carlos Tatai that took his first victory in the Moto2 European Championship. His first victory, he hopes, of many, as he looked to close in even further on Senna Aegis, who could only take a 3rd spot. But all celebrations, all silverware went in the way of Carlos Tatai. Terrific Tatai in Jerez and race number 1 in the Spanish Championship. So, Carlos Tatai, he will be looking for more silverware, another race win here today, Chris, and you can imagine that he will be taking the fight as best he can to Senna Aegis.
Yeah, Aegis, he's been excellent all season as we look at the track temperatures. 39 degrees on track, air temperature 32. But as we mentioned, Senna Aegis on pole, absolute superstar in the making. He's got the apt name for it as well, for motorsport champion to be, maybe. But yeah, he's got the 30-point championship advantage. He won the first 3 races, but it was only Carlos Tatai then downed him in Jerez. You had the pleasure of watching us in the flesh. Carlos Tatai, very impressive in terms of his speed, get pole position, but then he somewhat botched the start a little bit off the line, dropped down the pack as we saw, but managed to come back, and within a couple laps he was out in front leading and pulled the pin. So definitely one to watch. He'll be hopeful of something similar today.
Indeed he will be. Carlos Tatai starts from 2nd on the grid, just behind Super Senna Aegis, your championship leader, and he is aiming for victory number 4 in 2023. 3rd last time out, Chris, was his worst finishing spot in the entirety of his Moto2 European Championship career. Now, when he finishes, he's always been on the podium. However, when he did finish last year and this year. He was either on the top 2 steps of the podium, but so 3rd place. He realised he's pulling his finger out here today.
It's not a bad problem to have.
Not at all.
Your worst race result is still on the podium. But there he is, number 81. All eyes on him. He has a habit of making excellent starts. He started P4, I believe, in Jerez, and by the first corner, he was in the lead. So if he can pull out something similar today, then Carlos Tatai has a job on his hands. And some of the other front rowers, Xavi Cardaluz, Unai Radre from the 2nd row. This is what he had to say, though, just after qualifying.
Today's qualifying has been pretty good for us. We got our 3rd pole of the season, which is really positive, and we achieved it in quite a productive way, doing our fastest lap in the morning and worked for the race in the afternoon with a bit hotter temperature. Then the wind direction changed from the morning and we get a shock into some corners and vice versa with the temperature. You have less grip and you have to think about the tyre more, so this will just make it interesting on Sunday, but I'm feeling prepared. I'm just going to do my pace tomorrow and be present with the situation, and if I can pull away then perfect, or if I have to fight, I think we have a good bike to do for everything tomorrow, so no, I'm quite confident and keep calm, and hopefully tomorrow I can get it done.
143.677 from the young Australian, the number 81, Senna Aegis, number 1 in the championship standings, feeling very, very confident. As he said, he wants to pull the pin if given the opportunity and get into open air out front, but he is also ready to bring the fight to anyone who wants to bring it to him.
Yes, Senna Aegis looking to increase his championship lead. 3 wins so far this season, 4 podiums and 3 pole positions. He set a new all-time lap record here yesterday, beating the previous lap record set by Lukas Tulovic last year, and only him was underneath that new all-time lap record. As cool as you like, the newly turned 18-year-old, can you believe it, Chris? Only 18 years old, and he's got the European Championship at his feet at the moment. Incredible stuff there from the young Australian. Yeah,
a massive, massive talent. As you mentioned, we probably will see him sooner rather than later on the World Championship stage. And even though he has made some substitute and wildcard appearances over the last 2 campaigns, he has finished among the points. World at his feet, as you said. Carlos Tatai Villaden, 2nd in the championship, 30 points behind on 61. The Jerez Moto2 European Championship race winner.
Yeah,
he has got a big, big task on his hands to keep Aegis in check, but I back him to go with them.
Are you putting all of your money on Carlos Tatai today? Is that what you're saying there, Chris?
Not quite, not quite.
Well, if you're going for that, I'm definitely going for a Senna Aegis win there, but you won't be seeing me take much money out of my pocket to give to you if Carlos Tatai does eventually win.
Nothing new there, Liam. Nothing new there.
You will not be seeing a Scotsman take much money out of his pocket anyway. Anyway, moving on to Carlos Xavi Cardaluz. Must say, 2nd spot in Estoril race number 2. He loves it here in Portimao, does the young Andorran. The number 18 machine on the promo racing machine. He got a P3 in race number 1 here 1 year ago, so he'll be looking for some more silverware here today, with 2 challenges, with race number 1 coming up now and race number 2 a little bit later on.
Yeah, he's back on the front row here, and he's got 1 podium to his name so far this season, but coming in pre-season, I was expecting a little bit more from Cardaluz, saying that he has been consistent and good. Now, Unai Radre picks up his best qualifying of the year. P8 in last time out has got him in a decent little bit of form. Starting from P4, he'll be eyeing up a podium, definitely a top 5.
Rookie this year, indeed he is, Chris. He'll be looking for, as you say, first top 5, but maybe even a podium, to be honest. He's been absolutely on fire so far this weekend on the track with fast lap times, consistently fast lap times as well. And a fellow rookie in the Moto2 European Championship is Alberto Sura, coming over from the Moto3 World Championship. And he's slowly being, as with O'Radry, been getting a little bit faster, and he takes his first top 5 qualifying position of the year.
Yeah, unfortunately for Sura, though, he starts 5th and he has a long lap penalty coming his way. Given what we've seen in Portimao before, it may not be too much of an effect, but he will need to get a good start as we look at Marco Tapia in P6. P9 season best so far in Valencia. He's P12 in the championship, as we can see the results there. 11th, DNF in Estoril race 2, 9th and 11th last time out. So starting at 6th, he's given another opportunity to get a good point scoring finish.
Yeah, watch out for Marco Tapia on the number 8 machine, showing good form in the last few rounds as well. Some Australian fans out there, there's been a big crowd that has actually made the way to Portimao here today. Saw a lot of them this morning for the pit lane walk and really getting up close to the machines and the riders, and a lot of the riders very happy to see the fans in their droves here today. Sam Wilford on the number 35 machine as well. He'll be hoping for another top 10 finish in Portimao. He has been, well, very consistent, but a little bit unfortunate in the last few races, just slipping out of the top 10 in the last couple, but showing top 10 performance in the first few rounds. Still trying to find the form that we saw him at the start of 2022 before that unfortunate incident in Estoril race at number 2 back in 2022 when he was fighting for a top 5 position. So we're hoping to see Sam Wilford back near the top 5 battle very, very soon as well.
So we're edging ever closer to go time here. We can see the riders putting on their gloves. Canan Inta here on screen, starting in 21st. 2 points to his name so far this season. He's going to be needing a big task to get himself inside the points. Finished just once in Estoril race 2 inside the points to date. Big task for Canan Inta coming ahead.
Yeah, he was second in the Asia Supersport 600 class in 2022. So he does have a bit of form, does Canan Inta, the Thai rider. And as you said, Chris, a bit of unfortunate has come his way in the last couple of rounds. As we saw in the highlights package, he did crash out of a top 20 position at Jerez. But someone is hoping for no such luck in that form and looking for only good luck is your championship leader, Senna Aegis, who is once again for the 3rd time this season on pole position.
Just a little bit of housekeeping to bring you as we look at the grid. We do have some penalties mentioned. Alberto Sura starts in P5. He's a long lap coming his way. But it's Senna Aegis, Tatai, Carlos Tatai and Xavi Cardaluz on the front row. Alberto Sura, as we mentioned, in P5. Oradre and Tapia either side of him. With Yera Ruiz, who was on the podium last time out, in P7. Bersikerski and Garcia completing the 3rd row. Harrison Voigt, Toledo, Rato, 1 row further back. Sam Wilford, we've seen on screen. He'll be targeting a good points scoring finish. Mongiardo and Volpi beside him. Gerard, Ryu, Toth and Kyle Paz in the 6th row. Well, at the back we have Montero, Rehecek, Canan Inta, and row 8 sees Aubrey with Nico Antonelli given a penalty. He has to start further back. He incurred the wrath of the stewards.
Yes, disaster for the number 23 of Nicolo Antonelli, who took his final Moto3 World Championship podium at this track just 2 years ago at the Algarve GP. So he will be looking to repeat that form, but I don't think it's going to happen in race number 1 here today. We've got a bit of a problem there for one of the Bosco Scuro machines. I believe that looks like it's number, well, not quite sure who that was, but we will be keeping an eye on the problem there for the rider. Waving his hands, but thankfully it was only on the start of the warm-up lap that he had incurred the problem and not at the start of the race, because we never want to see anyone have any problems on the grid at the start of the race. So the Moto2 riders make their way around for the warm-up lap, and as we have been bigging it up on the intro to this show, Senna Aegis versus Carlos Tatai for supreme honours here at the Algarve. Track temperature has now gone up to a soaring, well, it's actually come down, hasn't it, Chris, from 41 degrees to 39 degrees track temperature, 31 degrees air temperature. It's still very warm out there. I'd much rather still be in this commentary box with an aircon.
Yeah, very much so. Cannot disagree there at all. It is quite warm on my trip to Park Ferme. It's quite a shock to the system.
It'll be like walking into Waitrose back home and having that heater hit you in the winter time as you walk into Park Ferme. But they won't be feeling the heat out there, or they won't be feeling the air temperature so much out there, well, the Moto2 riders, but they might be feeling the heat from the tension out there as they prepare for 16 laps of hot and heavy action around the Algarve International Circuit. Carlos Tatai on the number 99 Pertamina Mandalika SAG racing machine, and then Senna Aegis Poetry coming into shot just behind Carlos Tatai on the intact Husqvarna JuniorGP racing machine. Aegis leads the championship, 41 points ahead of Rato, I believe, and Carlos Tatai as well. I'm not sure if that's correct, because it should be 30 points ahead of Carlos Tatai, with Ruiz in 4th spot as well. Either I've got my notes wrong, or the graphics aren't correct at the moment. And we see there that was the Oscuro machine, the number 49 of
Francisco Monjardo, if I'm not mistaken, has having a long conversation with the marshals down in pit lane. It looks like he's set for a pit lane start. Senna just a couple stoppies there as he rolls up to pole position, get those brake fluids working out the front. We'll see if it has any effect coming into the turn 1 right-hander.
Well, we've seen in the last few rounds, Senna Aegis has been an absolute demon off the line. From 4th spot in the grid, and Herethi was already leading into turn number 1. Will it be a repeat here today, or can Carlos Tata get the whole shot into turn number 1 and give Senna Aegis something to think about as well? So, the riders are ready. All of them are on the grid, barring the number 49 machine of Margiardo as well. The green flag waves at the back. The red flag moves off the grid at the front. The red lights will be coming on any moment, and 16 laps of Moto2 European Championship action starts now, and it's a great start from pole position from Senna Aegis. Carlos Tata got another great launch as well. A yellow flag is pulled in, so no one's stalled at the back. But for now, a bit of a head shake on for Carl Lewis as he looks up there instead of Tata. But Senna Aegis, your championship leader, leads away from Carlos Tata, and that's one
2
of the
for 1 at turn 1.
Amazing there from the number 67 of Alberto Sura from 5th on the grid. He's big moment there
Tata.
for Carlos Tata, out of the seat, almost off the bike, leg waving, and that's given the number 8 of Tapia the chance to move ahead of him into 3rd spot. So Tata, a bit of a leery opening couple of corners, and that sees Tata down to 4th, but he's already looking up the inside of Tapia for 3rd spot, and that's Voigt just behind them as well. Voigt is now into 5th spot. He came from all the way down in 10th, and he's already made up 5 positions. So for now, Senna Aegis leads the way ahead of Alberto Sura and Carlos Tata.
Yeah, a shocking start off the line from Tata. Not necessarily off the line, but coming through turn 1, he had his moment. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from Aegis out front. Very composed coming through there, while Alberto Sura shot from the 2nd row into P2, getting a 2 for 1 on the right-hander into turn 1. That's the exact start he would have wanted, with a long lap penalty coming his way. But Tata now is fought back into 3rd place. He's not going to want to let Aegis build up a gap and extend that championship lead.
Well, for now, he is extending that lead in the race over Sura. Sura's got a bit of an advantage over Carlos Tata, but with Tata now in 3rd spot, can he start bridging that gap to the back of Alberto Sura? Then behind them, it is the number 8 of the FAL 55T Racing machines, the Yamaha Philippines Stylob machines of Tapia and Harrison Voigt. So Voigt, who had a big crash here 2 years ago, already putting that to bed, and as they come across the line, he's in 5th spot, but Sura is already on the back of Senna Aegis. Do we have a fight on the hand? Oh, big crash for Tata. He's gone over the front. Tata has gone off into turn number 1. Oh, he's sliding out. Oh, him and the bike have gone to the bars. Fingers crossed that Carlos Tata is okay. Not sure what happened there. We've got a couple of riders down the background. Is that Voigt? That might be Voigt. We might have some stoppage action here. We fingers crossed that Carlos Tata is okay. That was huge into turn number 1. He went for the brake and he went over the front, and Carlos Tata and his Pertamina Mandalika SAG racing machine slid out of contention as well. And we must keep an eye on who the other rider was that's slipping down the order. But 2 big moments in the first couple of corners for 2 of our top 5 riders in this race. For now, as I come over the crest of the hill, it's Senna Aegis that leads the way from Alberto Sura, the Bosco Scudo machine rider, showing great form here today. But, as you said, Chris, he does have to serve that long lap penalty.
Yeah, I think he's already been given the notifications, so expect him to drop into the long lap penalty loop in a matter of laps, in this lap or the next lap. Yeah, huge disappointment for Carlos Tata. He had a moment very early on. I didn't quite catch what happened to him there, but it was a massive crash as he went sliding out of contention. Hopefully everyone is okay.
Yeah, I think
we saw another rider go down as well. I didn't quite catch who it was.
I think it was Harrison Voigt. Harrison Voigt is now missing from behind Tapia, so Harrison Voigt, he's also slid out of this race, which is such a shame. From 10th on the grid, he was already up into 5th spot. But yeah, Chris, you were just watching the timing monitors there when I made you jump out of your skin with that scream. So So far, no red flags or anything, so we have our fingers crossed that Carlos Tata is
And
okay.
here
As
comes
Alberto
Sura.
Sura looking up the side of Senna Aegis. So Senna Aegis sweeps across the front of Sura to consolidate that #1 position at the moment. So no yellow flags in the background, so fingers crossed both Carlos Tata and Harrison Voigt are up and okay. We will give you any information we get on the two after that big one from Carlos Tata, but this is a great showing so far from Alberto Sura. It's just such a shame, Chris, that he does have that long lap penalty.
And here he comes up the
Oh, he's going
inside,
for
just
it.
to let
Wow.
Aegis know that he is there and he is not alone. Carlos Tata may be gone, but Alberto Sura is here, and he looks like he is here to stay. He does have that long lap penalty coming, but he is showing some remarkable pace across the opening laps here. If he can put a little bit of space between him and Aegis as they come into turn 8 and 9, maybe his long lap penalty won't be as detrimental to his race as it could have been. But here comes Aegis back up front. That's what a championship leader does, but he hangs it. Alberto Sura hangs it on the outside, and he's going to have the inside run coming through. Now the next turn's at turn 12. Will he make it stick? Will he hold? He pulls it a little bit wide. Aegis is dropped behind, and Alberto Sura clings on to P1 as we come into the penultimate turn 14.
And then he goes straight into the long lap penalty loop.
Let's see how he does. It looks like he's done it quite okay. A little bit wide, but drops
bit of a moment
drops into P5. I think he's just going to drop in behind the number 18 at Xavi Cardalus. That is quite detrimental towards Aegis, perhaps a little bit more than he would have wanted, and Aegis now has open air between him and the riders behind him, Marco Tapia, Roberto Garcia, Xavi Cardalus and Alberto Sura then at the back of this pack. It'll be interesting to see now if Sura can make easy work of Cardalus ahead of him, or will he get stuck behind and give Aegis some breathing room out front as the chasing pack battle for the podium places.
Absolutely love that from Alberto Sura. Just letting Senna Aegis know that he has the pace to go with him, battling him, and as soon as he hits the lead,
Straight up
he
the
then goes
inside
straight
of
up the
Xavi
inside. Incredible
Cardalus.
there from
Sura is on a mission here today.
Yes,
Let's see how long it takes him before he gets over past the number 8 of Marco Tapia.
Yeah, Alberto Sura will be carving his way through this field like a hot knife through butter, and Senna Aegis is only 1.6 seconds. I say only 1.6 seconds. It's still a big gap in Moto2, but with the pace we've seen from Alberto Sura, who was leading the race before his long lap penalty, he will be well and truly up for the fight here today, getting his hooks into the back of Senna Aegis as quick as he can as he gets past Tapia and Garcia. Great performance here by Garcia, who's in podium spot right now and looking for his first podium in the Moto2 European Championship. So far we have out of this race Carlos Tata, we saw, and into turn number 1 at the start of lap number 2. Big crash for Carlos Tata. Harrison Voigt went down a corner later into turn number 2, and we've also lost Piotr Biszakirski on lap number 1, so not sure what happened to the Polish rider there. So unfortunate there for the number 74 of Piotr Biszakirski as well. Senna Aegis leads the way, and that gap does look like it's opened up over the second group after sector number 3. As they come across the line, we will be looking to see the gap at the head of the field as Alberto Sura winds up the wick, and before he get even across the line, he's already into third. He's looking for second on Roberto Garcia, late on the brakes into turn
He's
number 1.
going to get him on turn 1 as well, isn't he?
As quick as you like. Absolutely brilliant stuff there from Alberto Sura, but is Garcia going to come back up the side?
Can't
No,
quite get back up the inside.
So
he had a look as Cardalus comes up the inside of Tapia now. Will he force him wide? No, Tapia manages to close the door in his face. This is sensational riding from Alberto Sura so far.
Yeah, we're going to see.
I'm not quite sure how far behind Senna Aegis he is at the moment, but there's a few tenths in it. We had a second advantage. At this pace, there's still 12 laps to go. He can take some chunks out of that time.
Yeah, 2.3 seconds is the gap between Senna Aegis and Alberto Sura, and this is how Alberto Sura took second spot. Late on the brakes into turn number 1, just cutting across ever so slightly, but not too much ahead of Roberto Garcia. And he ran a little bit wide, and Garcia had a little look up the inside into turn number 2, but couldn't quite make it stick over the curbs. Alberto Sura now back into second after his long lap penalty. This is a great showing by the number 67 on the Bosco Scuro, Team Chiati Bosco Scuro machine, now with clear track ahead of him on to the back of Senna Aegis. What can Alberto Sura do? He's on course for his first podium of the year so far, but can he now wind up the wick and close in on Senna Aegis? And we've now got Marcos Tapia in third spot ahead of Garcia, and Xavi Cardalus just behind them in 5th.
Yeah, and just a word of warning, Alberto Sura may have to go through the long lap penalty loop unless he is careful. He's just received a track limits warning, as has the number 10 and number 74. That's Unai Oradre and Peter Bishakurski also receiving track limits warnings, even though Bishakurski is at the back of this pack and looks to be out of this race.
Yeah, strange stuff there from either Piotr Bishakurski is still in this race at the moment, and the timing monitors are not picking him up, but we will keep an eye on that one as well. A bit of a moment there, almost a look up the inside from Cardelus on Garcia. This group of four, Alberto Sura, when he got up into second spot 1 lap ago, we thought might be able to try and close in on Senna Aegis. It's now gone the other way. You lost half a second to Senna Aegis on that previous lap. It's now 2.8 seconds from your championship leader back to Alberto Sura. So Sura leads the way on group number 2. The battle for second, and it's now Marco Tapia on the Yamaha Philippine Stylob bike that's in 3rd spot. Just behind them, Roberto Garcia has got a brace of 4th place finishes, still chasing that first ever podium here in Moto2, and Xavi Cardelus hoping to repeat his podium here 1 year ago. Just behind them, we've got Alex Toledo in 2nd, and Sam Wilford on course for his best result of the season so far in 7th spot ahead of Yari Ruiz, who got his first podium back in Jerez, and Mattia Rato and Gerard Riu rounding out the top 10 so far.
Yeah, we're just receiving an update. Carlos Tatai, big crash, but he seems to be okay. Seems to have an injury. He's been taken to the medical center, and it might be a little bit of a serious injury, but thankfully he was able to go to the medical center for a checkup, so he should be okay, and hopefully he won't be out of action for too long. Our best wishes with the Spaniard.
Yeah, fingers crossed everything is okay for Carlos Tatai, and it's just a precautionary check at the medical centre. We hope to see, as Chris just said, the number 99 machine back out on track, and it would be, well, it'd be good to know what happened to him in on the first lap there. As we get a track limits warning, as you just made, for Alberto Sura in 2nd spot, so this could be detrimental for his challenge for his first podium of the season.
Yeah, looking at the timing screens, and Senna Aegis is pulling the pin out front.
Sam Wilford going for 6th spot here. Oh, it swoops round the outside. Does Toledo.
Pull that very tight.
Oh, please don't tell me he's going to go round the outside there. No, he's not. The number 72 of Ruiz have found the opportunity and slipped up the inside for 7th spot there. I thought Sam Wilford for a second was going to go round the outside.
And here comes Ruiz up the inside.
Up the inside of Toledo for 6th. So he's done 2 and 1. And that is now Ruiz up into 6th spot there. Wow, Toledo, good stuff there from Ruiz.
Brilliant stuff from Yari Ruiz. A little further back, he was competing, running at the front, outdoing Senna Aegis last time out. He's now in the battle for 6th there. Quite a ways back as they come over turn 8. But keep an eye on this battle for 6th. It seems to have legs with Toledo and Sam Wilford.
Yes, the number 35 of Sam Wilford is so good to see him back and in the fight, well inside the top 10 positions there, and really fighting, as Toledo has a little sniff up the inside of Ruiz. You have to be really confident in your front end there. A bit of a front end moment for both Ruiz and Toledo as it came down the crest of the hill there into turn number 13. So Ruiz, who for now will not be repeating his podium spot from last time out at Jerez, as Sam Wilford had a little look up the inside of Toledo, but you've got to get up early in the morning to outbreak Toledo into turn number 15 there. Taking off another lap. 9 laps to go. Senna Aegis in commanding spot. As they come across the line for second, it's now Tapia that's in second, ahead of Sura, side by side, sticking out the legs, but late on the brakes. Sura is an absolute demon on the brakes into turn number 1, as we saw a few laps ago when he was challenging Senna Aegis for first spot into turn number 1 as well. But as you were taking off another lap, it's Sura leading the way from Tapia and Garcia with Cardelus on the back. But this group here are now 3.7 seconds off of Senna Aegis. Senna Aegis is just out for a commanding Sunday cruise on his Liquid Moly Husqvarna. Oh, Tapia makes a bit of a mistake into turn number 5, runs a little bit wide, a bit of a bobble on there. Garcia looking up the inside into the kink, and he does it, but can Tapia come back up the inside? Yes, he can. Tapia reclaims that 3rd spot, but here comes Garcia again, and a great he's shoving him out wide there. Oh, move
Alberto Sura's hands as he opens up a bit of a gap now into P2. Is he going to look up the inside, Cardelus? Not quite just yet. Garcia holds on for the moment. moment.
Well, here comes Tapia back up the inside of Cardelus. That was a great move there. Very, very late on the brakes. Got that stop brilliantly, but he's chopped the nose off Cardelus. That was very close, almost taking the front wheel away from the Andorran. But for now, both riders stay on. So Tapia, who's been having a few moments this lap, has finally fought his way back up into 4th spot, but no one is having any moment so far. Well, it looked like he almost had a bit of a moment into the final corner there as he braked for turn number 16. But before that, it was smooth sailing for Senna Aegis. He is clicking off another lap as he come across the line. 8 laps remaining for the number 81 Liqui Moly Husqvarna Junior GP team machine. And he has only just increased that to 4.7 seconds, so already increasing it even further over Alberto Suda, who, as for now, he does have a track limits warning, but for now doesn't have to serve another long lap penalty. Someone that will have to serve a double long lap penalty for a jump start is the number 21, so the number 21 of Eduardo Montero. He's down, all the way down in 20th position.
Having a rough day of things, a double
really is.
jump start, and he's running at the very back of the pack. It's been a day to forget so far for Montero, but out front, Senna Aegis is doing Senna Aegis things.
It really is. Super Senna Aegis. He's, well, like Superman at the moment, all the way out front. A bit of a moment there, it looked like it would have been for Marco Tapia. So Tapia is really having a lot of rear end problems, and he's just lost the hooks into the back of Roberto Garcia, and he's now slipped back behind Xavi Cardelus as well. So the day is going from bad to worse for Marco Tapia, who was running in 3rd spot for a good portion of this race, and already Cardelus is looking like he's opening up a couple of bike lengths advantage over the young Spaniard, as Roberto Garcia is now attacking, climbing all over the back of Alberto Suda. So Garcia on course for his first podium in Moto2, but he doesn't want that, as Tapia is looking up the inside of Cardelus. Did he make it stick? Yeah, no, he did not. Cardelus just holding it for now, but in towards turn number 15 to go. He was having another look as we look at Senna Aegis.
Yeah, cruising around Portimao like he owns the place. He is in a world of his own as we knock
here we
off
go.
another lap. Ooh.
That was the moment there for Carlos Tata. The back end stepped out
into the fence.
So rider conscious. That's good to hear. The rider is conscious. Tata has been taken to the medical centre, so we will bring you any further updates on Carlos Tata. But such a strange crash, such a nasty crash for the race winner from Jerez.
The end of that machine is completely gone. Hopefully everything is precautionary and we will see Carlos Tata back sooner rather than later.
So there is.
Then it is Senna Aegis who can take maximum advantage.
That was Eduardo Montero, number 21.
Eduardo Montero, who has the double
they look
long
exactly
lap
the same. So will he come in for the first of those long lap penalties on this lap, running down in 20th spot? That's such a shame for Eduardo Montero. He's not been on the form we know he can have as a young Spaniard, but there it is, the Liqui Moly Husqvarna junior team rider, Senna Aegis. So, Chris, I don't blame you. It's very easy to get them mixed up because the colour schemes are exactly the same as well. But Senna Aegis in commanding form, as you said, riding around the Autodromo International do Algarve like he absolutely owns it. 5.59 seconds ahead of Alberto Suda in 2nd spot, with Roberto Garcia climbing all over the back of the Team Chiati Boscoscuro machine, on course for his first podium of the season, his first podium in his Moto2 career. But he doesn't want his first podium, he wants a 2nd spot to go one better as well. Look at that, the difference in lap times from Senna Aegis to Alberto Suda as well. Senna Aegis is absolutely on lap record pace here today, a 1:43.706 for Senna Aegis, and that is
0.8 of a second quicker than his closest rival Alberto Suda, who we've been waxing lyrical about.
And that's better than Alex Escrige's lap record, best race lap record from 1 year ago. So Senna Aegis not on lap record form. He's absolutely smashing through the best race lap record, 1:43.709 from the young Australian.
Absolutely superb stuff.
1:43 for this lap. So wow, he's absolutely punching through the lap record.
Brilliant pace out front here. Absolutely super stuff, and well deserving of what looks to be, yes, another race victory. What a way to bounce back. When Carlos Tata took victory last time out, he didn't have the best of days in Jerez, still on the podium, and he's bounced back here in emphatic fashion to extend his championship lead, should things finish as they are.
Yeah, we were starting to think maybe Carlos Tata, after that first race win, might be able to start reeling in Senna Aegis, but Senna Aegis has come here. He's had 2 tenths in his pocket over the rest of the field for most of the weekend. So it's really put the pressure under Carlos Tatai. Maybe that's what pushed Tatai into that mistake on lap number 2 with that big moment into turn number 1. Now, Carlos is now caught at the back of Roberto Garcia. We were starting to think maybe Tapia was dropping off the back of Carlos, but he's not. He's hung on for now as Sura is now dropping Roberto Garcia. So Roberto Garcia, a bit of a moment there coming through the kink into turn number 10 with Tapia looking around the outside of Carlos. So that'll be like music to the ears of Carlos and Tapia, seeing Tapia up there saying for fourth spot.
Takes 4th. This is a brilliant battle for the final podium place.
Yeah, great battle here for the third stop.
They're gaining on Alberto Sura.
Sura had a couple of tenths advantage over Garcia. I'm not sure if there was a moment there from Sura as he came through turn number 15.
Garcia's eyes must be lighting up as he sees Sura drop into his clutches. The battle for 4th might change hands yet again here, but Sura seems to be dropping pace. He's set a 1:44.81 there. Roberto Garcia a 1:44.31, half a second quicker on that last lap.
Absolutely incredible stuff by the riders chasing Alberto Sura by a ticket, because this is a showstopper for second spot. Sura is at the head of the field and second, ahead of Garcia, who's now really ramped it up again. So maybe he had a mistake 1 lap ago, and he's now found his form again.
Here, I think the chasing group here have a much better pace. They were all half a second, close to half a second quicker than the Italian. You just wonder, did Sura use too much of that wheel grip in the opening laps as he set a charge after Senna Aegis to get ahead of the long lap penalty and be in the podium battle? The Italian looks like he might be in a little bit of bother here with 5 laps, just under 5 laps to go.
Here comes Carlos. He's got to run over the crest of hill into Craig Jones' corner. He's done it. He's ahead of Garcia, and here comes Tapia as well. Great stuff there from them. Drawing Tapia up the inside of Garcia. So Garcia's gone from 3rd down to 5th, but he's hanging it around the outside. Who will it be as
Garcia's
a swoop?
Got him back on the
Garcia's
inside,
gone
on
for
the outside.
but Tapia around the outside. Incredible
He's still
stuff.
hanging around the outside. Is he going to make it stick?
Oh, it's got to be Garcia. Tapia's up the inside for turn number 15. Tapia's done it. That's side-by-side action. Incredible stuff here in Moto2 European Championship. But Tapia, and Tapia moment there.
Well.
Both of them having rear-end moments coming through
Box
the final.
office entertainment here in the Moto2 European Championship, courtesy of Marcus Tapia.
Incredible stuff from those two. But that's allowed Carlos and Sura to build a bit of an advantage for second and third spot as these two continue to battle it out. Chopped the nose off Tapia.
Elbows with Tapia as they come in across the front straight.
No love lost there between the two.
Carlos ahead now, Garcia. This one has got legs in it, yes.
Yeah, a great battle here.
Carlos, is he going to have a little look at Sura coming up? He's coming through.
Oh, he's had a bit of a moment as Carlos.
No, he had a moment. That's given Sura just a little bit of breathing.
Oh, another moment as well.
Series of left-handers, and Garcia's going to take full advantage, I think, here, is he?
Garcia's looking up the inside. He's not doing, but Tapia's looking round the outside of Garcia. It's all stationary as you like into turn number 5 for now, but Sura, that's giving him lots of breathing space in second spot. So the riders, the 3 riders behind him, will get very close to the back of Alberto Sura, but as soon as they get to the back of him, they start having rear-end moments. So Sura's pace is high enough that it's really pushing the riders chasing into problems as Garcia is looking up round the outside of Carlos. Has he done it? As Carlos hung out up the inside? It's still Carlos for now as we look at Alberto Sura, who's in a comfortable second spot with 3.5 laps remaining. But Garcia is looking up the inside of Carlos, but Carlos just holding it for now. You can imagine that Tapia is going to look up the inside of Garcia. No, he's not. He's going to look round the outside instead. Oh, a bit of a moment there from Garcia as well. Here comes Tapia. He's going for the move like he did 1 lap ago, and he's done it again.
Got him. Yeah, he's done Garcia on the brakes coming in. Brilliant move. And all this, we were questioning Sura. We thought he might be fading, but this is just playing right into his hands as he goes on to consolidate second place, coming over with just over 2 laps to go. It's brilliant stuff from Sura, but this battle between Carlos, Tapia and Garcia is playing right into his hands. We're looking at the lap times now. Sura had 4 tenths in his back pocket over Carlos coming there, and 3 tenths over the other 2 riders.
Yeah, Alberto Sura is now dipped back into the 1:43. It's a 1:43.8 last time round for Alberto Sura. So maybe he was just looking after that rear tyre, and now he's really opened up the wick and he's pulling away from the chasing pack as he's now really stretching out the group behind him. Carlos has now opened up a small gap over Garcia as Tapia is climbing all over the back of his fellow countrymen, but still looking pretty out front. The gap is up to, well, a gargantuan 9.8 seconds with 13 laps completed as we look at Garcia poetry in motion down towards turn number 1, up the inside of Marco Tapia. A bit of a bobble on the front end as they both go over the bumps, but as cool as you like. There's no problems there for either of them. As Senna Aegis is the rider with the least problems out front. Maybe the only problem he will have will be the lapped riders that he's coming up to the back of at the moment. 2 and a bit laps remaining for Senna Aegis. He will be opening up that championship advantage by a huge amount in just 2 and a bit laps remaining.
Yeah, 9.817 seconds over Alberto Sura, who was charging hard in the opening laps at the young Australian, but now Aegis is in complete control. Further back, Sura looks to have consolidated a little bit of a gap into P2 and P3, which means Cardelus, Tapia and Garcia are all fighting it out for that remaining podium place. As we look at Aegis come up on Edu Montero, who had to serve a double long lap penalty and is running at the very back of this race. We can see here now that a gap has opened up between P3 and P4, and it's Cardelus who is in control, and he's now coming to second place. And again, Sura has just been, we thought he had responded to another moment for Cardelus, but he's managed to get the hooks once again back into Alberto Sura, and he's half a second on Sura, on the Italian. There must have been a moment or something for Sura, but yeah, Cardelus is now eyeing up second place.
That's a couple of laps in a row that Cardelus has had a moment coming out of turn 3. I was watching him sort of stomp through the gear selector as he was trying to come out of turn at number 3. So maybe he's having a bit of a problem there and is really struggling to come out of turn number 4 without the rear end giving way. But we have seen that Cardelus in the last few laps has been able to close down on Alberto Sura as the podium. Oh, it's a battle for 4th. Rachel Tapia up the inside. He popped a wheelie come over the crest of the hill. That should have put him further back, but it didn't. He took that advantage and went with it, and he's now back up to 4th spot. That's a great little battle going on between Tapia and Garcia. Further behind them, Mattia Ratto has now moved up into 6th spot ahead of Alex Toledo. Nicolo Antonelli from the back of the grid and serving a long lap penalty. He's now inside the top 10. He's in 8th ahead of Yari Ruiz. He's dropped all the way down to 9th. And Mattia Volpe rounding out the top 10. Unfortunately, Sam Wilford, who was in the battle for 6th just a mere few laps ago, he's dropped all the way down to 11th, but still in for good points ahead of Gerard Riu, and then Francesco Mongiardo, who we saw having problems and having to start from the pit lane. He's then to 13th ahead of Uni Oradri, who from 4th spot in the grid has dropped all the way down to 14th, and he's just ahead of Kyle Paz in 15th. So we start the final lap of the race. Alberto Sura just ahead of Xavi Cardelus. Marco Tapia looks like he's put the stoppage on the attack from Roberto Garcia. Can Cardelus look up the inside of Sura into turn number 3? No, he can't, but we must watch to see if he has another moment coming out of turn number 3. All seems okay this time round, Chris, so Cardelus can go on the attack of Alberto Sura for 2nd.
Yeah, on the last lap, we are Senna just cruising out in front, but all eyes on this battle for 2nd place between Sura and Cardelus. Coming into turn 5, Cardelus just a little bit too far behind to try a move, but he has still got a couple opportunities to come up. At 7, 8, he might fancy a turn 13 though. Might be his best chance if he can get close enough to the Italian rider.
Yes, only a few more laps remaining. Can Cardelus has been very good over the crest of this hill, down in towards Craig Jones Corner over the last few laps. But for now, Alberto Sura on the Bosco Scooter machine has a few bike lengths advantage coming over the crest of the hill into turn number 11. This is where Cardelus really winds up the wick, as we see last lap, just a mere 400s faster.
400s out.
Incredible.
He's getting onto the rear tyre here as we come
he's looking
through.
For it on
he's
the inside.
having a little look here through turn 13. It might be a little bit too late, but here comes Senna Aegis round the final corner and back on the top step of the podium as he crosses the line to take his 4th win of this year's Moto2 European Championship.
Jerez was just a mere blip. He's back on form. Senna Aegis is your victor. 4th win of the season for the young Australian, the newly turned 18-year-old. He is on form. The battle for 2nd. Here comes Sura.
Beside him. Is he going to get it?
Sura holds on. Sura holds on just ahead of Cardelus, who retakes a podium here in Portimao. Tapia in 4th, and then in 5th spot it is Roberto Garcia, just missing out on the podium there. Further back, we'll wait the arrival of Mattia Ratto, Nicolo Antonelli as well. There's a blast across the line. It is Ratto from Antonelli, Toledo, Ruiz and Volpe rounding out your top 10. But there's no denying 11.788 advantage over Alberto Suda in the end. Senna Aegis picks up the victory here in race number 1 at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. Pops a wheelie for good measure as well. He's getting very used to those. A lot of practice Senna Aegis has had with the wheels. And will it pull a little stoppy as well? Jack Miller style? Not quite. Down towards turn number 5. A big shout out to Alberto Suda as well. A long lap penalty, and also challenged this man on screen, Senna Aegis, in the opening few laps before his long lap penalty. He comes across the line for his first podium of the season in 2nd spot, ahead of Xavi Cardelus, who returns to the podium for the 2nd time this year. But Senna Aegis, there is not enough you can say about him. Super Senna, he has been on form, and there is a brilliant exchange between Suda and Ratto as well. Ratto congratulating his fellow countryman Alberto Suda on a first podium here in the Moto2 European Championship after what has been a very, very difficult season in 2022 in the Moto3 World Championship, with injuries picked up and missing a lot of rounds through those injuries as well. He picked up 1 point in the Moto3 World Championship, and it was here at the Algarve International Circuit back in 2021, and as a stand-in rider as well. Xavi Cardelus, the Andorran rider on the number 18 promo racing bike, he's back on the podium. He really does like it here in Portugal. He picked up a 2nd place in Estoril and round at number 1. He picked up a podium here 1 year ago in race number 2, and he picks up another podium here in Portimao with a great little stoppie for good measure as well as he comes into pit lane. He's an absolute character, as Xavi Cardelus, a very, very popular character in the JuniorGP paddock as well. So he will be starting off the celebrations down in Park Fermi. But everyone will be chasing the Super Senna Aegis, the number 81 machine from Australia, who has just consolidated his advantage at the top of the championship as well. So Cardelus pulls into Park Fermi. You can see Chris Jordan is already down there waiting to talk to this man, Senna Aegis, in a few minutes' time. Somewhat subdued celebrations from the Liqui Moly Husqvarna junior team. It's because they're just so used to winning. This has become run-of-the-mill for the team and Senna Aegis. That's his 4th win from 5 races in 2023 so far. The minor blip of Jerez has been put firmly to the back of his mind with that incredible performance. 11.788 was his winning advantage at the end. He was out for a Sunday cruise in the last few laps, but he was the only rider consistently in the 143 bracket as well. Probably the happiest rider down in Park Fermi is the rider that isn't even there yet, will be Alberto Suda, because he's picked up what's been a truly incredible first podium here, and with not having to serve a long lap penalty in race number 2, he could potentially take the fight to Senna Aegis, and we hope that Carlos Tata, he will be back out in race number 2 here today as well, after his checkup in the medical centre after a nasty crash into turn number 1 on lap number 2. So Alberto Suda pulls into Park Fermi. He'll be flowing with emotions any moment now, congratulating his team Chiati Bosco Scuderia machine, and they are overjoyed with that one. Incredible performance by the number 67. The Italian Alberto Suda, he will be picking up a brilliant, hard-fought 2nd place trophy when he goes to the podium. But it's 1st place for Senna Aegis, and a photo that will firmly go into the photo album back home in Australia, as the Australian fans are here in their droves as well, cheering on Senna Aegis. The flags are flying, and Australia has a little superstar on their hands, and you can imagine that he'll be moving up into the World Championship before you know it. Just newly turned 18 years old, and this is a replay of the start and how the action kicked off. So Carlos Tata from 2nd spot in the grid got a bit of a wheelie off the line, and Xavi Cardelus was alongside him down into turn number 1, but it was number 67 of Alberto Suda that slot into second mere moments later. Sideways action from Senna Aegis. Poetry in motion down into turn number 1. But this is the winning moment, coming across the line to see the checkered flag for the 4th time in 2023. Looks over his shoulder, wondering where everyone else is as he punches the tank in celebration. Thankfully, unlike Xabi Zurituza and JuniorGP, he was not punching a hole in the screen with that one. He maybe gave it a good go as he rounded turn at number 1 as well. But yes, just patting his Liquid Moly Husqvarna Moto 2 machine as a job well done by both rider and bike in race number 1. But he's down in Park Fermi with our very own Chris Jordan, and he's got all of the reactions from Senna Aegis.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Here with our race winner from race 1 in Moto 2 European Championship. Senna, back on the top step, 4th time this season. You've extended your championship advantage. How are you feeling after the race, and how do you feel it sets you up for the rest of the day?
No, we're feeling great. I didn't expect the first couple laps of the race, so I got passed by a rider that has just arrived in the championship. I thought it was Carlos coming through, but once I settled into my rhythm, I'm super happy with my middle part of the race, and I think we learned a lot for this afternoon to see this rhythm in this afternoon. And yeah, thank you to the entire Husqvarna, Liquid Moly, Intact GP junior team for their work this weekend. Thanks to my family here, some extended family here to watch this weekend, and after Earth it was a difficult weekend and we're back on top where we belong, so hope to repeat this in the afternoon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So this is how Senna Aegis wrapped up victory number 4 in 2023. The lights went out and he got the whole shot into turn number 1 with Carlos Tatai and Xavi Cardaluz close behind. Alberto Sura slotted into 4th spot just before sweeping past both Tatai and Cardaluz into 2nd spot as Tapia went round the outside of Tatai. But it was Tatai that had this huge moment into turn number 1 and lap number 2. Hopefully he'll be out in race number 2. Check up in the medical centre as he is hoping to be back in action later on today. The battle for second enraged after Alberto Sura came through for a long lap penalty, but he's quickly made his way through the pack and back into second ahead of Garcia, Tapia and Cardaluz. As he pulled away, it was Tapia that was chasing behind ahead of Garcia and Cardaluz. Cardaluz would then carve his way through into 3rd spot, but no such problems for Senna Aegis as he was rocking at the front of the field. This was close action for 4th spot between Tapia and Garcia as they almost came to blows on the start-finish straight, with Tapia retaking 4th spot into turn number 15. A few more laps remaining and it was Alberto Sura that opened up the advantage as Garcia would then retaliate into turn number 1 ahead of Tapia. These two having a great scrap as Tapia came over the crest of the hill into Craig Jones' corner, retaking that. It wouldn't be the last time that those two would swap positions, but it would be Senna Aegis who would round the final corner for a 4th time in 2023 for another race victory as he would look over his shoulder to see that no one was behind him. And Senna Aegis, your victor here today, popped a wheelie for good measure, and he will be hoping to repeat that in race number 2. Just behind them, it was Alberto Sura picking up his first podium ahead of Xavi Cardaluz. But it was all emotions and all celebrations for your race winner, Moto 2 European Championship, race number 1 for Senna Aegis.
Para o pódio, representante da equipa vencedora, Steffi.
So, the team representative for the Liquid Moly Husqvarna JuniorGP team comes to the podium. And then your 3rd place rider, Xavi Cardaluz, Andorran rider, takes another podium here in Portugal. His 2nd of the season. And then the 1st of the season. Senna Aegis didn't expect him to come up the inside so early on in the race. He couldn't quite believe it as well as Alberto Sura takes his first podium in the Moto 2 European Championship, but his 5th podium of the year, his 4th race victory in 2023. Senna Aegis is back on the top step of the podium. The CEO of the Autodromo International do Algarve hands over the trophy to the team representative. Big smiles all round. That is a team that is at the top of their powers at the moment here in the Moto2 European Championship. And Xavi Cardelus, another third place here in Portimao, repeating the honours that he had 1 year ago. He takes third spot, and he'll be looking for more silverware in race number 2.
Alberto Sorra entrega o troféu Pedro Ribeiro. O FIM JuniorGP Chief Steward.
The FIM JuniorGP Chief Steward Pedro Ribeiro hands over the second place trophy to Alberto Sura. He'll be looking for more of that in race number 2. And the only rider that gave Senna Aegis anything to think about will be hoping for a repeat later on today. First Vice President of the FBM hands over the trophy to your race winner, Senna Aegis, on top of the podium. And we will hear the Australian National Anthem ring out across the Algarve International Circuit once more. Congratulations all round for your top 3 on the podium. Senna Aegis, Alberto Sura and Xavi Cardelus take the honours in race number 1 here at the Autodromo do Internacional Algarve. They will be back in action at 3 p.m. local time for race number 2. And can anyone stop the man on top? Your championship leader, Senna Aegis. Alberto Sura, Chris, he put up a good fight, so he'll be hoping to do that again without the long lap penalty in race number 2.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic ride from the Italian. Coming through the long lap penalty, now he showed he had a little bit of pace to go with him at the beginning. If he can produce the same start from P5 on the grid, then it will be a very, very interesting race 2.
Yeah, we look forward to race number 2 coming up a little bit later on after race 2 of Junior GP, which will be hitting track at 2 p.m. local time. And Moto3 out at 3 p.m. as the top 3 stand for the celebratory photos. And this is how the standings looked after race number 1.
So Aegis is your victor, with Sura and Cardelus completing the podium. Marco Tapia bested Roberto Garcia in that battle for the P4 spot. Mattia Ratto ahead of Nicolo Antonelli, who came from the back of the grid. Alex Toledo, Yeray Ruiz picking up very strong point-scoring finishes. Mattia Volpi completes the top 10 ahead of Sam Wilford, who was in that battle for 7th but dropped out. Gerard Riu, Francesco Mongiardo, Kyle Paz and Unai Oradre complete the point-scoring positions. Maxwell Bertrand Toth, Philip Rehacek just miss out, while Shannon Inta, Charles Aubry and Eduardo Montero complete your finishers. Carlos Tatai, our best wishes with him after his big crash. Same as Harrison Vaught, we hope to see him in race 2. Peter Bershakirski, the other DNF rider.
So this is how your championship looks after race number 1 here at Portimao. 116 points for Senna Aegis, 49 clear of Mattia Ratto. Carlos Tatai, as Chris said, we wish him the best. He is now 55 points behind the championship leader ahead of Xavi Cardelus, Yari Ruiz and Alberto Sura after his first podium moves up into 6th spot. Nicolo Antonelli in 7th ahead of Alex Toledo and Roberto Garcia rounding out your top 9. Marco Tapia, he finished 4th in race number 1. He's in 10th spot ahead of Sam Wilford. Finished 11th in the race. He is 11th in the standings, just ahead of Juan Rodriguez. Harrison Voigt, he crashed out of race number 1. He's in 13th ahead of Mattia Volpi and Une Oradri. Francesco Morgiardo, he's in 16th ahead of Jared Riu, with Kyle Paz on 10 points and 18th ahead of Martin Bukarek and 19th ahead of Piotr Bishakiski and 20th, rounding out the top 20 in the championship standings. Sitting pretty at the top of the standings and taking all the honours in race number 1 for Moto2 European Championship was Senna Aegis. He will be looking to make it a double in Portimao. Moto2 will be back out on track and in action at 3 p.m. local time, but do not go anywhere as we have European Talent Cup coming up next.